I'll tell you when it's starting. I think 1, 2, 3. There we go. Okay, everyone. Good evening. And today we have Leon Perez, who contacted me earlier on today. I'm currently in Venice in Italy, and got an email out of the blue, and I liked what Leon had to say to me, and I said, why don't you come on and we'll have a chat and share what you've been researching. And perhaps, Leon, you'd like to just briefly introduce yourself, the audience, and go from there.
Yes, my name is Leon Perez. I've been working most of my life in South Africa, but I have about 4 university degrees, which include engineering, biological sciences, and the MBA, and the law, advocate, and so on. And I retired a few years ago, and then I always had in my mind to find out why there are some Jewish people who are like very superior in entrepreneurship and in intellect. Like we know Einstein, Freud, Karl Marx, Spinoza, and many, and there's many, the Manhattan Project that was in America. And then if you look at in America specifically, the whole of Hollywood, why it was like established by Jewish people, and then you know, the financial sectors. And I wanted to find out what makes them unique. Some of them, of course, there's many, like any other nation, many that are not successful and they are not, you know, but the ones that are, like the Google one, the Google, Sergey Brin, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, anyhow, they are very successful, and I wanted to find why. And
I just want to interject for a second. I had noticed a few years ago this very fact, because I noticed that the nationality with the highest percentage of Nobel Prize winners was the Jewish people, and it was phenomenal. Even in comparison to, say, for example, Muslims, there's no comparison. It's like 100 times magnitude, I think.
It's in my book, but can I show the cover of the book?
Absolutely, yeah. Just hold it a bit higher.
It's called Culture of Wealth, and I published it last year.
Yeah.
It took me about 3 years to write it.
Yeah. And
it's based on a lot of knowledge that I had over the years, plus additional knowledge that I've done. Now, I thought that the answer lies in history.
Yeah.
You know? So I researched it and try and find out about how Judaism came about. And then later on, of course, how Christianity came about from Judaism. And then as I stumbled along the line, I went into the Islam. And I found some very interesting things. So I will just talk about the Islam, which concerns you, right?
Well, you can give us a little flavor or maybe of the other things as well, because I think the audience would be quite interested to hear that as well. Maybe even just a tiny bit.
The very big picture is that it's an evolutionary process.
Yeah.
What happened over the history is an evolutionary process where over time, a lot of the people who are not able or not capable or not having the money and so on were culled by pogroms and so on. And then you always have the ones who managed to run away and restart businesses. And you know, Jews are like any other people in the world. We are human. So, and there is a human evolution. And the path of the Jews is very unique because they were dispersed from their ancestral land and they had to go all over the world and become a minority. And that thing helped in molding the Jewish character, which I write in the book, and I give many examples.
Do you know what I'm finding a massive coincidence for me is I was conscious today, being in Venice, very conscious of Shylock and the Merchant of Venice and all of the negative stereotypes, and you know, and it's funny that you contact me today, and it's about the positive side of Judaism, which I'm delighted to want to push obviously that side of the thing, because people have had a paranoid feeling towards Jewish people because the Jewish people have been very successful And rather than looking at, well, why are they successful? They just viewed in a conspiracy, as a form of conspiracy, you know, almost like it's magic that they become successful. But there is no magic to it. There is a reason. And then
exactly. And that's why I wrote a whole book about it. What are the reasons? So that people get away from their conspiracy theories and try to look at the logic, and then they will understand over history what happened and what made it like that.
Yeah.
So this is a whole thing for you on your own. You can have a look and read my book, and I'm sure you'll be fascinated.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading it.
But about Islam, you'll be fascinated because you will find out that Judaism is not probably what people think. And in my opinion, and what I show, and I bring a lot of facts, is that Judaism actually is stemming from two religions, which is one the Zoroastrian, and the other one is the Babylonian mythological religion. And it's you'll see in my book how I came to that. There's a lot of similarities, even with the language, like Haor Mazda, like the Zoroastrian god. Haor in Hebrew is the light. Mazda is Masad, from the root Masad, which Mossad, you know the Mossad, it's actually establishment or the established light. So it's very, very close. But there's many, many other things that, you know, many of the epics of Gilgamesh and all these things appear in the Bible. You probably know that. That is the Judaism thing. Then the Christianity is a very interesting thing as well, very fascinating, which I don't know if I should talk about it, but just a few words is that you will find out that Christianity sprang up during the height of the Roman-Jewish wars, where in fact many Jews probably wanted to escape Judaism, not to be slaughtered by the Romans.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and then you will find out that in fact the Christian philosophy appears in the Bible, in the Talmud. Not in the Bible, but in the Talmud. It's in my book. All of that is in my book.
That's
amazing. If you want, we can come to the one that most interests you is Islam, which for me, yes?
Yeah, I was just going to say, my computer screen is going blank on me here, so I can't see it. I don't know what's up with the computer. I think it might be that I have a lot of things running.
I see you perfectly, so I don't know.
I'll have to ignore the fact that I can only see a blank screen and hope that it's recording, okay? So, it's strange.
It says here recording. On my screen it says recording, but I don't know. I hope so.
Yeah, no.
Anyhow.
Sorry to interrupt you.
If we come to the Islam, I have like about 20 or 20 something pages which are full of facts and so on. Now, it's very difficult Islam is very complicated because, like I said, there's a lack of information, a lot of lack of information. Yeah. But then I looked at many of the things, and I can't give it to you now because you'll get a complete shock when you read it. But what I try to do is to try and make some order. And then the first thing that you have to know, to realize, I was trying to think like a lawyer as well about circumstantial evidence and so on. Yeah. Now, if you think about your Lachemids, the Lachemids were very close to where Babylonian Jews were. It's almost the same place. Hira was very close to Kufa. And Kufa had one of the Talmudic centers there. About a few kilometers from Kufa was one of the main Talmudic centers. You know, there were three, Pumbedita, Neharda, and another one. Now I don't have it here in front of me. Sura, yes. Sura. The Sura,
I wasn't aware of the
Sura Talmudic Center was close to Kufa.
Right.
And Kufa is about 15 kilometers from Hira.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
So, and now there were, at that time, there were millions of Jews there, probably, according to some records, but if not million, hundreds of thousands. There were quite a lot of Jews there still, because the Roman Empire did not manage to eliminate them there. They were under the Parthians.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've heard that at that time in the 7th century, they were the equivalent of the Jews were the equivalent of 10% of the Roman population, so they were a significant force.
Yes, but I'm speaking about, there's not much information, but there were a lot inside the Parthian.
Yeah.
Babylonian Judaism, that's where the Talmud comes from. The Talmud itself is a Babylonian Talmud. It's complicated as well. It's in my book. There's the Jerusalem Talmud and the Babylonian Talmud, but the Talmud that the Jews use today is the Babylonian Talmud.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Okay. And now you have to understand, Jewish communities were there up to 1950 when they had to run away because of the establishment of the State of Israel. So about a few 100,000 of them ran away from Iraq.
Yeah.
Where they've been there thousands of years.
Wow.
So now, this is the most interesting because it's the surah. There were three, Surah, Pumdita, and Harda. But the one that is the one close to the Lucky Meads is the surah. The surah, and just think about it, Surah Academy, surah from the Quran, surah.
So when you say
surah means shura in Hebrew. Now, you see, I have to juggle between the Hebrew that I know, the Hebrew, which is closer to probably Eastern European Hebrew, which is a new Hebrew, because it was, revived, versus the Babylonian Hebrew, which many people would call it Aramaic or Southern Aramaic, but it was probably what you call the Babylonian Aramaic, which was heavily influenced by Hebrew. Must have, because I will show you many examples.
So when you say surah in this context, what is the Hebrew meaning of the word surah?
It means shura, the way that you read a line. So you say line after line after line. That's where it comes now, the Islamic surah. Surah from.
So just to be clear, it means essentially it means how you say a line or how you interpret a line.
Because normally they learn by line. Yeah. They have a line, they learn the line, and this is what I write. It's something interesting because, you have surah, sinun, or shinun in Hebrew is through the teeth, and then chidud is mean to sharpen. And that's how they study the Talmud. And it's exactly the Islamic thing. Surah is the surah that you read. Yeah. And then sunan, shinun in Hebrew, but in probably Babylonian, it might have been sinun or sunan. It's very close. And then
the sunnah, essentially.
Chidud is hadith. It's probably hadith.
So you have surah as in the chapter, you have the sunnah as in the collective teaching, and then you have the hadith as well, all from Judaism, essentially.
Well, yes. The surah is the shura, the line that you read. Then you have to leshanen. Leshanen means through the teeth to recite. So yeah. And that it's probably sunan in Arabic, and hadith is the interpretation. Afterwards, the chidud. Chidud means to sharpen. So yeah. you learn, you recite, and you sharpen what you've learned.
Right. Okay. So the hadith, essentially in Islam, then, was to analyze or understand better what you've learned.
The Quran, yes. I'm not going to tell you the whole thing because I said to you, it's so much. It's very, very difficult. You have to read it. But I will eventually. I come to the conclusion that probably the Quran was written around 800 and something, and probably the guy that wrote it, the most likely suspect is Al-Bukhari.
Say that name again.
Al-Bukhari.
Oh, Al-Bukhari.
Al-Bukhari.
Right.
You know Al-Bukhari.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I have many, many surprises, including on the Rock of the Dome and things. But anyhow, let's go further. So now you have to remember. So what I did is I went first to the language. And then I said, look, the Arab language, because like I said to you, you have to remember there is a Hebrew of today, which is very close, but not in sound. And then you will understand. And then there is the Hebrew, the Babylonian Hebrew, or the Aramaic. You can call it Babylonian, Aramaic, Hebrew, whatever. That is of then. Now, the only reason I can a little bit imitate it is because I remember when I was young, I used to see on TV the old Yemenite Jews, how they spoke.
Yeah.
And it must have been very close to the Babylonian Jews.
Right.
You see, it's dialects, you know what I'm saying? Dialects and, right?
So would this Babylonian Hebrew be the same as Syriac or very similar to it?
Yes, Syriac will be, it's like you have like a southern dialect, which is the Babylonian one,
Yeah.
which is the most close to Arabic, and then you have the Syriac. I saw on your videos, the Syriac is a bit further away.
Okay, yeah.
You can see it, like for instance, one of the things that you wanted to find out is Quran, right?
Yeah.
Now, Quran, you will see from the Babylonian Jews, first of all, Kri'ah means to read.
Yeah.
Now, even in Hebrew, there is a Quran is that thing that like a hand that goes when you read in the Bible, that's called Quran. Quran in Hebrew. Quran.
Right.
And the more significant is that the Bible itself, the Torah, had another name which is not used so much, which is called Mikra. Mikra is again from the same derivative of Quran. Kara means read. Kara, Kore, I'm reading, he's reading, you know. Quran is, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. So essentially the Quran is like the Torah in the sense it's something you read. There's a kind of an etymological connection there.
Exactly. It's essentially the same, like you have the Torah, so you have now the Quran.
Yeah.
But the Quran is like the Torah was called Mikra. Mikra is closer to Quran, the same, Mikra.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Now, so I start looking at the Southern Babylon. I would call it probably Southern Babylonian Aramaic, which is influenced with a lot of Hebrew probably, and it's the closest you can think to Arabic. So you start with Allah, which is Aloha, you know, and then the meaning God. Then you can say Beit in Hebrew, Beit in Arabic,
House.
and probably in Babylonian it would have been something in between, like Beit or Beit, you know, is house.
Yeah, yeah.
Then Ras is Rosh. Rosh in Hebrew is head. Ras in Arabic is head too. Now the Babylonian Aramaic would have been probably something in between, like not Rosh, but Ros or Ras, very close. And then it goes, it's hundreds of words. I mean, everything. And then, you know, Shams is Shemesh or Semes. Shachar, it means sun. Sahar is Shachar, meaning dawn. You know, everything. Gamal is camel. Jamal, meaning camel, you know. So I started with this, and there's many now. The most interesting is when I start trying to come to understand what is the name Islam. And this is the first surprise that I have for you. And the second one will be, what is the name Muhammad?
Oh, right. So, okay. Yeah.
Yes. So what is Islam? From what you learned, what do you think is Islam?
I've heard different meanings. Submission, peace, unity.
Okay, maybe I should. Okay, just think about it. Salam is shalom. Salom. Now, in probably Babylonian, it wasn't shalom, it was salam, which is salam. Same thing. But this means hello, or it's not hello, it's actually says I'm whole. So the name, listen to this carefully. Mushlam in Hebrew, Mushlam today in Hebrew, Mushlam in Babylonian Aramaic, it probably have been Muslim, and then Muslim. What does it mean? What does Mushlam mean? Perfect.
Right. Being perfect or perfection.
Being perfect to perfection. That's right.
Oh my goodness. Right. I actually think what's his name? Yehuda. Oh, what's his name? I can't think. He's Yehuda.
Okay, I have more surprises for you.
Sorry, Yehuda Nevo. Sorry, it took a second there to remember his name. I think he came to some similar conclusion as that, if I remember correctly. He was on those lines actually, and I wasn't 100% sure if he was right. But yes, please go ahead.
Okay, you know the normal thing where they say Salam alaikum wa barakatuh. You know, so in Hebrew today, in today's Hebrew, it will be Shalom Aleichem wa birkato. But if you try to go like the Yemenite or the Babylonian, it will be Salam alaikum, aleikem, Salamu alaikum, wa birkato, and barakatu, ubarakato. You understand what I'm saying?
So
it's an extinct language. The Babylonian-Judaism is an extinct language, but it's extremely
similar to
mirroring Arabic.
Yes.
And there's more to show later on from the Arabic writing, because if you look at Arabic and Islam and so on, it only comes at about 750.
Can I ask you?
Yes.
Something I have to ask you, because it was featured in, I think it was the last video I did. What is Cyrus in Hebrew?
Koresh.
So it is Koresh.
Yes. Why you want to link it to the Qurayshi?
Well, yes. I just thought that the name was pointed out to me by one of the viewers as being incredibly similar to the Quraysh or Qurayshi.
Yes, it's very possible, because if, like I said to you, if Judaism in my book, you'll find out, is actually stemming out of Zoroastrian, actually a mixture of Zoroastrian and Babylonian. You have to remember, when the Persian Empire conquered Babylon, the Jews there, or even the Babylonians, they were under pressure. So what do? They invent a new religion, but they have to comply, so they have to become a monotheistic like the Zoroastrian.
Yeah.
So it might be the Qurayshi from there, but I have many more surprises. What I can tell you, it's so little. I mean, on the video, it's so little. But anyhow, if you want, because we will come to something more interesting, like Muhammad.
Yes, please.
Now, what do you think? Do you think Muhammad is a name?
Well, I'm kind of leaning towards it being a title originally. I am aware there was an inscription in Hebrew I think it was in the 6th century, which is totally unconnected with Muhammad the person.
Let me give you, because I shock many of my Hebrew people, because they themselves don't know, but whoever I talk to, I shock them. Yeah. And I said to him, what about Mehmad? Mahmad in Hebrew today, Mahmad.
Yeah.
And probably Babylonian Hebrew was probably Mehmed or Mehmad.
Yeah.
What does it mean? Mehmad means a treasure, something that is irreplaceable.
Oh, wow. That's totally different to what I've heard.
Yes. And where does it come from? You will know that one. Where does it come from? It comes from the root one, echad. In Arabic, wahad. Wahad, only one. There's only one.
All right. Okay. So the name Muhammad, as in treasure, or Mahmed, comes from the word one.
Yes.
So in a sense, he is unique. That's part of the meaning to it.
Exactly. And the Sebeus, the Mehmet from Sebeus, is closer to probably the Babylonian, how they used to say Mahmad. So maybe they didn't say Mahmad, they would say Mahmad or Mehmed.
So do you think that was the original, and then it was turned into an Arabic form later? Do you think that's the way it would have gone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or or because they were close by. I mean, the neighbors, Hira and the Surah, the Academy Surah, and the Jews there, and there are neighbors there.
Yeah.
Now, I just wanted to give you some clue about the Muhammad merchant, because if you look, the biggest merchants in that era, and even up to 1,000, were the Radhanites. You look at it on Google. These were Jews that had caravans that were going from Europe to China, even before Marco Polo.
Oh, wow.
Now you can imagine that they would go through all the routes through all this Iraq and so on. So, and they would probably hire the local. Help them. And there you are, Muhammad is American.
You just broke up there, so
anyhow,
you may need to repeat what you just said because you broke up.
Okay, when I say that they expect that Muhammad was a merchant, now the biggest merchants in that area, of course, later on the Islamic world, the Muslims that became afterwards become the biggest merchants again. But before them, or even at their time, the biggest merchants were the Jews.
Right, okay.
They were bringing stuff from China to Europe and backwards.
So do you think the person who got the name Muhammad, do you think he probably was Jewish?
He was what?
Do you think the person who became known as Muhammad was actually Jewish?
No, I don't know. I don't know. I can't say that. But
okay.
He might have had some connection with the Jews. If he comes, like you say, like in your video, comes from the area of Hira and from the Lakemids, like you said, Ibn Kapsa, and his son is Parva. Now let me give you this. Ibn Kapsa, you know, Ibn is Ben, Ibn, and probably in the Babylonian-Judaism, they used to say Ibn as well.
Yeah.
Not Ben, like we say in Hebrew today, Ben, but they say Ibn, or like Ibn. And Kapsa, Keves, which means sheep, in Hebrew, Keves. So I don't know how they used to say Kapsa, Keves, and Farwa, where your friend Murad said Farwa means the fur. In Hebrew today, you will say Parva, which is exactly, but if you look at Babylonian again, you have to try and imagine what was the Babylonian. So it might have been, it couldn't have been Parva, it might have been Farva, or Farwa, something very close.
So are we right in saying that it means something like fur?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Thanks for that confirmation.
Fur, it's not wool. In Hebrew, it means, this is the thing that I write in my book, that from the Hebrew, you can actually analyze Arabic and find out many things that many Arabs themselves cannot know because they lost it over the generations and over many years. Now, the worst is, and of course, like I said, even when you look at many of the religious things, like Navi is Nabi, or in Hebrew Navi. You understand? Which means prophet. Wahad is Echad, we spoke about it, okay? We spoke about the name of Muhammad, which I think is a title. The precious one, or the irreplaceable precious thing.
Yeah.
So, I told you you're going to get a shock, right?
Yeah, and so just to be sure, the farwa means fur, or did you say hair as well?
Not hair, fur.
Fur, okay, no, because it broke up there. I wasn't sure you said.
No, it doesn't mean wool. It actually means the whole fur, the fur of the sheep.
Okay.
Or the fur of any animal.
Yeah.
In nowadays Hebrew, it's parva. But like I said, you have to try and phonetically understand that Babylonian Hebrew Aramaic, or what they call Babylonian Aramaic, the dialect, or the way they said it was slightly different, which is probably the most closest to Arabic you can get.
So do you think, you know, this is a theory that myself and Murad have been playing around with, is that before the Quran was in Arabic, it was in possibly Syriac, but from the sound of it, it could have been in this Babylonian dialect.
Yes. Now, I think it is more from the Babylonian. Obviously, you'll read my book, then you'll understand why. It is more from the Babylonian side and not from the Syriac side. Yeah. The Syriac side is something different.
It's further.
The Syriac, all your things are correct about the Syriac, but the Quran was if you look at my book, was probably written at around 800 and something, and believe it or not, it was probably started by Al-Mamun, Caliph Al-Mamun. Do you know Caliph Al-Mamun?
Yeah.
This is another shock that I'm going to give you.
Yeah, wasn't he connected with the inscription in the Dome of the Rock, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes. Now, do you think that inscription is a fake, like everybody thinks?
Well, I was inclined to think so. So why is it that the date is wrong?
I'll tell you. I think in my book,
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm putting a bold statement.
Yeah.
That it's not a fake.
Yeah.
Because the original counting of the Arabic calendar started at 750, when the Abbasid Caliphate had their first caliph named Muhammad. And if you count from 750, you count 72 years, it falls exactly on the middle of the reign of Al-Ma'mun.
God, you're blowing my mind here.
Yes.
So are you talking? Are you saying that this? Are you saying that the Anno Hijra, it started in 750 then?
Yes. Now what happened was, when they started writing the Quran, it looks to me, from all the evidence that I gathered until now,
yeah,
they changed it.
Yeah.
Because just think about it. They didn't know before, when they had the Abbasid Caliphate, they didn't know the timing and so on, and they decided that they are going to call their first caliph Muhammad, and that's the Muhammad. You know, it's like the second Muhammad. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
then they start counting, and now your coins that you think that they are Abd al-Malik, they have Arabic inscription. At 690, you didn't have Arabic inscription. Your Arabic starts at about 700 and something. And I believe that these coins are not Abd al-Malik, but Al-Ma'mun himself. And if you think they were very rich already, the Abbasids were very successful, very rich, and that's the golden age of Islam.
Right. But how do you account for, what's his name? It's gone out of my head. St. John of Damascus, talking about the Quran in the 730s.
Yes, you must be aware of St. John of Damascus. He doesn't mention Islam. He doesn't mention Mecca. He still speaks about the Ishmaelites and the Hagarians, and he speaks about places that are not, you can't say that this is Mecca or anything. He doesn't speak about that. He speaks about the, sorry?
But he does refer to the Surah number 2, Al-Baqarah. Does that not, how does that fit in with your idea that the Quran was started much later? Are you saying that?
What I'm saying is, there must have been some kind of, how you call it, information. I don't know in which language, because it doesn't mention Arabic as well. It doesn't mention the language Arabic or the writing in Arabic. And if you look at inscriptions in archaeology, you find that Arabic is from the 7th something. And funny enough, the first writings in Arabic appear where? In Hira.
Yeah. Wow.
Which is a few kilometers from Surah, the academy, the Jewish Surah, Babylonian Academy.
And of course, then you have the Kufic script from Kufa.
Exactly, the Kufic writing, the Kufic Arabic, which comes to the Dome of the Rock.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, this is, talk about exploding a lot of myths here. This is amazing stuff, man.
How it came to my mind, even I don't know, I'm just thinking, just analyzing, looking back, forth, and then I write everything in my book. I'm sure by now you're going to read my book.
I am, definitely. That's the first on my list to read.
Okay.
But it's amazing that you wrote that, is it 3 years ago?
Yes. And no, I published it a year ago, but I wrote it since 3 years before I started writing it.
All right, okay. But it's interesting that the research that we've been doing on Sneakers Corner channel has overlapped so well with your own research.
Yes, because first of all, a lot of it comes a bit later, which you will see, but which maybe complements your research. You know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, if I will have to talk to your Christian friend,
Yeah.
I don't know what's his name, the one that sometimes you have videos with him.
Well, there's Murad and Bala, but Murad isn't Christian.
No, not Murad. Murad, I know. Murad is,
right.
it must be. No, there is a P Funder.
Oh, yes,
channel.
Jay Smith. Yes, sorry, Jay Smith. I didn't know who you meant. Sorry.
Well, he wouldn't like what I write about Christianity, the same as many Jews would not like to hear what I write about Judaism.
That's the danger when you're doing academics. People may not necessarily like what you come to conclusions you come to.
Why? Because I believe that even the Torah and the Christian, the New Testament, and even the Quran, these are all stories in order to cement and to have an agenda. They have an agenda. Now, I went into some of the Quranic stories, and you will be shocked what I found there.
Right.
So I don't know if it is this video, or would you like to hear one or two of the things or something?
Yeah, please do. Yeah, just share a tiny bit. I'm hoping that the recording will come out fine, because my computer is a little bit on the blink.
Okay.
It's kind of flashing on and off here, but I'm hoping it's recording okay.
You can send me that recording after that?
I can indeed, yes, I will do that.
Okay. Well, first of all, one of the interesting things that I found out that almost all the Arabic names are Jewish names.
Do you mean?
I'll give you an example.
Do you mean Arabic names? Sorry, do you mean Arabic names in general, or Arabic names in the Quran per se?
Arabic names in general.
Right.
Now, and I will show you how. Okay. The ones that are in the Bible are easy. Wait 1 second. Let me see if I find it here on my book, because I have to go from this page to that page to this page to that page. Okay. I'll say, like, the first names are very easy. Like Ali is Eli, Omar is Omri, Bakr is Bachar, Eli, Omri, Bachar. Yeah. All biblical Jewish names. Then you have the names that are not biblical, but you can find out, if you have a phonetical imagination like I try to develop, you find out the Jewish origin. For instance, Hassan or Hasson, it means in Hebrew strong. Even in today's Hebrew, Hasson means strong.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Then you have Hussein or Hassin. In Hebrew, Hassin means impenetrable. Then you have Banu Hashim, is Bnei Hashem, sons of Bnei Hashem, Banu Hashim. Bnei Hashem is in today's Hebrew, but in probably Babylonian it would have been Bnei Hasem, Banu Hasim.
And what would that have meant?
The sons of Hashem, of Hashem, the Semites of Hashem, or okay. Hashem. More, wait, and then you have, okay, the other ones that you know as well from the Bible is Ibrahim, is Avraham, is Ibrahim. Esav is Esau. Yaakov is Yaakov. Caleb, Dawood. Now, funny enough, until the establishment of Israel was a very, very common, it looks like, in the Arab, because it was still in Afghanistan. Only recently they start taking it down because they don't like that there is a state of Israel. So Israel is now off the Islamic thing. But Israel was a very, very proud name of the Afghanis.
Wow.
Up to recently. The Muslim Afghanis. The Pashtuns.
So how come the Arabs had so few of their own names? How come they borrowed so much?
Okay, now the other Jewish one, Salman. Yeah. Okay, is Suleiman, Solomon, but even in the Ashkenazi Jews, it's Zalman. Zalman. Just a Z instead of S.
Yeah.
You understand, which is Solomon. And then Zachariah is Zachariah. Ayub is Eob. All of these Isaac, this Dawood, David, Zechariah, Eob, all are biblical names. And like I said to you, the other ones who are not, like Uthman, Osman. Osman means somebody who has strength. Otzma in Hebrew means Otzma. So instead of Otzma in today's Hebrew, in Babylonian probably would be Osma, and it is Osman.
Wow, that's amazing. Tell me this: do you know anything about Aisha?
I know about Amina. Amina is from Amin, and Amin, even in today's Hebrew, Amin means credible.
Okay.
So the Amina was credible. Now Aisha, I thought about Aisha. It's a bit more difficult but I do have a suspicion what it means. Because Aish, even in Arabic, Aish means life. You know?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Aish, if I will try to look at it from today's Hebrew, I would say Hayesh. Hayesh means the existing, like maybe alive, you know?
Yeah.
So Aisha must have been the lively one or the existing one, or I don't know, something like that.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Okay, so we spoke about Mehmet, which is the unique or the, you know, and then what's some other things? I have many things. It's like I can't even give you, I didn't even give you a little bit of it. It's really not even much I gave you, but
so in terms of if we can just go to say the beginnings of the Quran, so do you think the Jewish people had some part to play in producing that for the Arabs, or do you think that was?
I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you. I thought about it quite a bit. It might be that over the generations, the Jews and the Arabs in that area, the Lakimid, or they become Muslims, and they already knew the Talmud because some of them knew it. There's intermarriages, marriages, forced marriages, and so on, and people slowly become knowledgeable on their own, and then they have their own language. Then they start developing their own writing, which I have a whole section how the Arabic writing was probably developed from cursive Hebrew.
Yeah,
I think that must be investigated further from the cursive way of Hebrew. And if you look, because I looked at it, some of it you can just change the angle, put a few dots, do this, and then you have the same word or different. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I've heard different scholars talk about it being a Nabatean script, so I don't know how that would fit in with
yes.
it. But it's,
no, they are right. So they are right because they had probably Nabatean, but there must have been some Jewish influence from the Surah Academy, which is right by Hira.
Yeah.
Or very.
Well, I'd imagine because say Petra being the primary spot in Nabatea, and it's on the trade route, I'd imagine there was a huge Jewish influence because of it being on the.
Well, I mean, if we know about the Radhanites, and we know that the Nabateans as well were merchants and caravans and so on, they must have met many times, not once or not twice, doing their trades and doing, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, yeah.
So, wait, let me see, because there's so many things that I'm just trying to see what I wrote. Now, I try to bust a lot of the myths, the same as I bust a lot of the Jewish myths. And then later on the Christian myths, the same I try to bust the myths, the myths in Islam. And there's many. And the one that hit me, that struck me the most, was something that I remember from when I was 6 years old, when I was reading like the Bible or the Torah, and I came into the word. In one of them, it just hit me on the head, because when I read the Islamic things, the name Yazid, Yazid is supposed to be the arch villain that killed the Imam Hussein, like the arch villain, Yazid.
Yeah.
Now, this is interesting. The name Yazid is not a name again. it's not a title. It's an act that is mentioned in Exodus.
Really?
וכי יזיד אדם על חברו מקרני המזבח תיקחו אותו. It means like if a man will pretend that he is your friend, but will backstab you, you will take him from the altar. He's going to die. There's no recourse for him.
Yeah.
And Yazid is exactly the story that he befriended Imam Ali or Hussein. Was it Hussein or Ali? I don't remember now. Then they speak about Karbala. They say that it's Karbala, but in your findings, you find that it was a war between Muawiyah and what's his name? Ali.
Yeah.
And Ali.
So you think actually it might be a myth actually?
It must have been a myth. Must have been a myth.
Yeah.
Because the Yazid, it appears in Exodus as exactly like that. V'chi Yazid adam al chavero. I don't have it in front of me in the book. I have to find these things. Okay, 1 second. I will find it. Okay, here. Okay. I encountered the term Yazid in the Bible within some bad context. Okay? So I painstakingly researched for it because I knew I heard it somewhere in my life. So, and then I found it in the Torah, in Exodus 21:14. Okay? And then it says, but if a man plots deliberately against friend to slay him with cunning, even from my altar you shall take him to die.
Right. Okay. So
this remarkable perfectly describes the Islamic story of Yazid plot to murder Muhammad's only male heir, Imam Hussein.
Yeah.
Whoever wrote the Quran there and wrote that story, he must have known that term from either the Bible or the Talmud.
Yeah.
Because Yazid in Hebrew is an adjective used to describe a man who cunningly and deliberately plots to murder his friend.
That's too big a coincidence. They had to be borrowing it.
The severe punishment is an indication as to the seriousness of the offense. And according to Islam, Yazid's reign was short-lived, with him dying a horrific and inglorious death.
That's very good.
And Yazid's story is the theological basis for the Shia-Sunni Muslim split.
Yeah. Could you comment on Zainab and Zaid? Are they Hebrew related by any chance?
I don't know about that. I haven't looked at it.
Yeah, all right, okay. I know
I can look at it maybe later sometime, but again, as I come and you see again all the words all the time, you know, like for instance, when I look at it's like words, you know, al-Hakam, Chacham in Hebrew, Chacham in current Hebrew is clever. Al-Hakam or Hakim is clever one. Then you have Uthman, I told you, is Osman. And it's probably from Eitan. Eitan in Hebrew, Eitan is like sturdy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or mighty, powerful, or sturdy. And in the stories, what I looked at the stories of the Abu Bakr and so on. You will find that they have similarities to David and Solomon. The stories of David and Solomon, they borrowed some of the stories and they made it like you know,
myths.
I don't have it.
Sorry? They create mythical stories based on those biblical characters.
Yes, they took, because they didn't have information themselves. So they had to do it. So what was easier than take the Bible or the Talmud, which has some of the biblical stories, and reform them with a new heroes.
That's amazing. So Like I've done a video with Jay Smith where I expose how historically unreliable the first four caliphs are. But
Yes, yes.
This would buttress that idea that if their biographies are fictional, by the sounds of it.
Yes, one of them I said is almost like Solomon. He knows everything. He knows he's a very clever man. I don't remember who it is. Was it Bakr or Umar? I think was it Umar? I have it in the book.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wrote it. Just remember, my book was about Judaism, not about Islam. but so it turns out that because one of the things that I saw is that in the Jewish tradition, they had many years that they said, no, Muhammad learned from one of our prophets and so on. And it's probably a myth, you know, but maybe he didn't learn from the prophets, but they had some connection there.
Yeah, I think the original person was Iyas ibn Kabisha, which would make him a member of maybe not a royal family, but certainly he had royal connections.
Yeah, I was fascinated with that thing, you know, Iyas ibn Kabisha. I cannot say because, like I said, I every time when I look at the stories, I take them as stories. I try to look at archaeological or historical evidence, and then I try to link and analyze it based on circumstantial evidence. And then I always in my mind that whoever writes a story, which is the Torah or the Quran or the New Testament, he always has an agenda.
Yeah.
And therefore, you must know that these are stories. You can never confirm them really. But if you find the Yazid, like for instance, something like that, you find and you see, there was a story. He took it from there. Yeah. Where the name come from? Just propped up.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm sure you will have noticed that an awful lot of the sources that have been used for stories in the Quran seem to have come from Jewish Apocrypha and the Talmud and so on.
Yes.
But
okay. But were you happy to hear about the connection between Judaism and the Jewish language, or the Babylonian Aramaic, Judaic Aramaic versus Arabic?
Absolutely, yeah. All of this is
I forgot to give you one of the main things is about the religion itself. Let me find out. You'll be shocked about the religion itself.
Yeah.
This will be because I find that when it comes to religion, then the words are really a lot of the words of Jewish words in the religion. We spoke about Ahal Habayit, Al-Bayit, Ohel Habayit, but we spoke Masjad, Mizgad in Hebrew. In probably Babylonian Hebrew, it wouldn't have been Mizgad, maybe it would have been Masjid. You understand? But it's very close. And
so in the Babylonian Hebrew, masjid would have meant place of worship, or
it comes from the root sagad or sajad. Sajad means worship.
Okay, yeah.
Now, midrash, in probably Babylonian, it would have not been midrash like we say today. It would have been madras.
All right, so school for learning.
Yes. And then what I found is more interesting is the pillars of Islam. They are actually almost like the pillars of Judaism. I have to find it out for you. I have so much. I can't see where it is. It's like it's like crazy. You know what I'm saying?
So like in Judaism, Jewish people refer to the principles of their faith as pillars as well.
Yes, the pillars in Judaism is. You have to remember, in Judaism it's 3 pillars.
Yeah.
In Islam it's 5 pillars, but 2 of them are inside the 3. Or no, the other one is like to go to Mecca, to go to Mecca, to which is not. It's not really a basis for the faith. The faith was supposed to be the Torah, the listening to the word of God, the prayer, and it's tzedakah. In Hebrew today it's tzedakah. In Arabic, sadaqah or sadaqah. In the Babylonian Arabic or Babylonian Hebrew, it must have been, couldn't have been tzedakah. It must have been sadaqah or sadaqah. Very similar again.
Yeah.
And then what I find interesting is some of the words like imam and Ramadan. I think when I start analyzing them, I think they are a combination of two Hebrew words, and they make a meaning like Ramadan, Ram, in Hebrew, Ram Hadan, means the high judge. And it's exactly like the Yom Kippur, the Yom Kippur of the Hebrews, where they fast.
Yeah.
And and there's a judgment in the sky for them. And so so the same Ramadan, they fast a month. They wanted to be more onerous than the Hebrew. So the prayers in Hebrew were 3 times a day. They made it 5 times a day.
Yeah, and actually in the Quran it suggests only 3 times a day. So they must have augmented it to 5 to be more competitive.
Yes, and all the days of the week is the same, except the Friday, which was changed to Jama'ah.
Yeah, and actually, I think the original Arabic word for Friday was something like, I think it's something like Good Friday. It had a meaning which kind of connected to the Christian idea of Good Friday, but maybe perhaps it had a Jewish meaning as well. I'm not sure. Can't remember the details of that one.
Yeah. One second, I wanted to find out for you. Yazid.
I do hope.
Okay, Beit al-Maqdas, Beit al-Maqdas, Beit HaMikdash. Beit HaMikdash, the house of the temple. Yes, the house of worship. Mikdash is a temple. Beit al-Maqdas, that's in Jerusalem, next to the Dome of the Rock.
Yeah.
The Beit al-Maqdas, Beit HaMikdash.
Beit Maqdash.
Beit HaMikdash.
Yeah. So the house of worship, I get it. Yeah.
Yes. Now in Babylonian, again, it's an extinct language, but if I look at from the Yemenite, I would say, they wouldn't say Beit HaMikdash, they would say Beit HaMikdash. Beit HaMikdash. Beit al-Maqdas.
Yeah.
Now
Excellent.
You can hear it. You can hear the Arabic.
I have to ask you this question before I forget. I don't know if you saw one of my videos where I explored the whole Abrahamist sect, which predated Islam, which was a religion that basically mimicked Judaism for centuries before Islam began. What's your thoughts on that? Have you come across anything like that?
I haven't, but like I said, what I discovered on my analysis about Judaism from Zoroastrian is that many of the Zoroastrian stories are equivalent to Abraham and Moses. For instance, the smashing of the idols in Abraham is the same. Zoroaster was the same thing. And then the Zoroaster saw the revelation of the bush, the fire of the bush of Moses, similar. It's a similar motive of Zoroaster. Now, like I said to you, Ahura Mazda, I told you the Hebrew or you can call it Aramaic or Hebrew Aramaic or Babylonian Hebrew Aramaic is the same, Ahura Mazda. But not only that, the spirit of the Ahura Mazda is Asha. Asha in Hebrew is Esh, which is fire. That's the spirit of the Ahura Mazda, fire. And then, and even until today, they say even in the Bible that the fire must be on the altar continuously, like 24 hours. And even today, many of the Jews, they light candles on Friday night, and they call it soul candles.
Yeah.
Because the fire.
And the Hanukkah as well.
Yes, the Hanukkah is different. Yeah, but that's a different occasion.
Different occasion.
I'm speaking about it every Friday and every Memorial Day. Every memorial, let's say your father died a year ago, every year you're going to light a candle, which you call it the soul candle, you know, the soul fire.
Yeah.
The soul of the, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, excellent.
So Ramadan, and then Imam, Im Ha'am. Im Ha'am means with the people. Right. The Imam is supposed to be the leader. He's supposed to be with the people.
Yeah.
Im Ha'am, Imam. Ramadan, Ramhadan. There's so many, not only words, but combination of words.
Yeah. That's amazing to hear that now. I'm surprised I didn't hear this before.
No, nobody, you won't find it on the internet. I'm the first one, to my knowledge, that does all these things, because I couldn't find any of this on the internet or anything.
So this is an exclusive, Leon. The first time ever.
Perhaps I want to as well start a YouTube channel also.
Oh, Leon, you must. You must.
Maybe you'll help me.
Absolutely. No. I think the fact that you've come on here, I think you're going to get 100 subscribers on day one, at least.
Okay.
But, I think you've got fantastic material. I definitely would highly recommend that you start a channel, actually, because some great material that you've got there.
Yes, and the Arab, by the way, Arab is Araba. Araba is Araba. You know, Arava, even today, Arava is all the way from Jordan up to the Red Sea. That's the Araba. And it comes from Erev. Erev means evening. The people that came from the evening, from the Arava, where the evening, where the sun sets.
Sunsets. Oh, yeah.
Because the people in Babylon, when they did the Bible, they called these Arabs because they come from the Arava. They come from where the sun sets, from where the evening, Erev is evening, Erev, Arava.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting. So
but it was a Roman province in the Roman times, probably based on the Jewish name Arava, and probably Araba, and maybe it was not Arava like we say it, but Araba. And Araba is Arab.
Yeah. So it actually did come from the idea of Westerner, as Murad has said.
Yes. But it's not Westerner. It's from where the sun sets, and the sun sets in the west. Yeah.
It's in this. It's more at the poetic sense of west, let's say.
Yes. Where the sun sets, or where the evening falls.
But that's kind of interesting too, because when the Quran talks about Dul Qarnayn going to where the sun sets, that connects with the idea of Araba or Araba.
Yeah. Is it good if I correct you on one small thing that I saw on your videos? Because of course there's many, but one small thing that
please do.
It hit me, because you see, it's the knowledge. You know, everybody has knowledge. Like, I don't have knowledge about Shakespeare, except I know his anti-Semitic thing about Shylock. But anyhow,
I know. Yes.
So
we've done a full loop from the beginning to the end of the video here.
Yeah, but one of the things that you have to remember: the Jews or the Arabs, exactly like the Jews, the Arabs were not monogamist, the polygamist, and the Jews were polygamist as well. You, in your video, you said they are monogamist. It's not true. The Jews only become monogamist from about 1,000 years ago, from one of the rabbis in Europe, where he put like an edict or something, where it says, because he probably didn't want, you know, the Europeans, they didn't like it that the Jews bring so many children, because they had many wives.
Right. Well, I stand corrected. I think someone did mention that to me after I had mentioned that in a video. It was months ago. But thanks for correcting me. That I'm actually surprised by that.
Yes.
But
so it's only 1,000-year-old in Judaism. Before that, that was the problem, even with the Roman Empire, that they would breed a lot. They bring a lot of children, and then the Romans were all the time, you know, they wanted to oppress them, of course, because they're growing in numbers, and then they rebel, and then again, you know what I'm saying? So.
And they're a threat once they grow in numbers. Yeah. Interesting.
So I told you about the pillars. I wanted to know if I have the thing on the pillars here. Okay, Kufa, we spoke about the Kufic style of thing, and then, and we spoke about the Rock of the Dome. That will be interesting for you here, which means that the Rock of the Dome was probably built by Al-Ma'mun. There might have been before a smaller thing, but that big thing was built by Al-Ma'mun at 72, which was from 750. And then he miraculously died at some stage, and the guy after him is the one, again, that probably at that time they wrote the Quran. And then you can see that when they write the Quran, they want to justify the vast amount of still Jews that they have in their place. So they give stories that the Jews were brought from Mecca by Umar and all kinds of stories. These Jews have been there in Babylonia for thousands of years.
Yeah. That's great. Do you know, I must say, before you say anything further, Murad is going to be watching this, and he's going to be so delighted that you mentioned about Al-Ma'mun and the late building of the Dome of the Rock, because he has believed that to be the case for quite a while. So
about Al-Ma'mun, he believed that?
Yes, actually, what you were saying there about the idea the inscription wasn't a fraud, but actually that it really was Al-Ma'mun, and I didn't believe it. I just thought it was a forgery.
Yes, that's what I was wondering. All these professors in England writing it, because I'll tell you why. Because everybody falls on the same trap. They start listening to the stories.
Yes.
And they try to interpret it backwards.
The wrong
and they
way
have
around.
to understand that every story must be looked as a story. And only if you find a real confirmation from the story, then you know. Otherwise, it's a story. And you'll see, as I write it, it's a story. The same with the Torah and Moses and whatever, and the same with the Christ and so on. You'll see in my book, they are all stories. But they have look, I do not say anything. Look, the religions are very important. They are a building block in humanity. So, and there's many of the morals that we took or were passed through. I don't know if passed through the various religions, if it is from the Babylonians and the Assyrians, thousands of years, through the Zoroastrians, through the Judaism, through Christianity, through Islam. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's part of everybody's history, and it's very difficult for every person to change his identity.
Yeah.
There's billions of Muslims, and they feel like the Jews. They feel they have a certain identity, and the Islam and the Quran and everything is part of their identity. And when you try to doubt it, you're actually doubting their identity, and they become very, very defensive.
Oh yeah, I think actually when you touch on someone's identity, you set off a defense mechanism that's like, it's basically like the reaction a dog or some sort of animal has if their life is in danger, you know?
Yes. And by the way, Al-Ma'mun, as well in Hebrew, is Mammon. Mammon means fortune.
Okay.
And all the caliphs, Aaron is Aaron, and most of them, I think I had the names. Oh, here. The pillars of the Islamic religion are also extremely close to Judaism. Instead of 3 pillars, which include study of the Torah, which is God's word, working for God, which includes prayer, and Gemilut Chasadim, which means tzedakah, Islam has 5. The first 3 are identical because they're the same. Okay? The second, the first one is believe on God, and the Prophet Muhammad is added. The second pillar, okay, is tzedakah. In Arabic, it's the same, sadaqah.
Yeah.
Sorry, the third. The second is about the prayer. Then the third is sadaqah. The additional 2 pillars in Islam is fasting during the month of Ramadan and pilgrimage to Mecca.
Yeah.
These are not pillars. These are not, you understand, the first one is giving charity, the third one is giving charity, the second is the prayer, and the first is the belief. So it's belief, prayer, charity, and what they added is they added fasting on the Ramadan and going to Mecca. So it's the same three Judaic pillars of, of faith, plus two which are acts. They are not pillars, they are just acts
that you do.
Yeah, acts that you do. Okay, the charity is an act too, but it has a more ethical meaning.
Yeah, and then maybe an interior disposition connected with it.
And what they did is they just changed it. Instead of pilgrimage to Jerusalem, because the Jews were pilgriming to Jerusalem, you had to go to pilgrimage to Mecca. And the Yom Kippur is exactly like the Ramadan, which I explained before. You know?
Yeah, that's amazing. So I suppose on the basis of everything you've told me, I will definitely have to review a good deal of what I've proposed on the channel, particularly about the Dome of the Rock, because if the dating of that is not the 690s, then that throws an awful lot of early Islamic history out the window.
Yes. Unfortunately, or fortunately, because like I said, they didn't know when the Abbasids came into power, they wanted to write their legacy and they wanted to write the story of Islam.
Yeah.
But they didn't have the information. So they had to somehow gather it, and then, you know, and then you have the pinnacle, I think, is al-Bukhari. And I think he wrote the Quran and the Hadith at the same time. That's what I believe.
Really?
And that's why he's the most believable among them, because his Hadith is as close as possible to the Quran, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. What made you think it was al-Bukhari that might have written both? Was there something, or was that just a wild guess?
Exactly. I'll tell you why. Not exactly. I write it in my book. What are the things? It's my suspicion. I cannot say for 100% that it was al-Bukhari, but I can say the suspicion because of the timing.
Yeah.
The timing is exactly Al-Ma'mun's time. Al-Ma'mun returns, then Al-Ma'mun dies suddenly. Now you can go and figure out how did he die suddenly. That can be many things, you know, even in the Roman Empire and everywhere. The people used to kill each other all the time in order to, you know, gain the position. So, and then suddenly, maybe he was in the process of building the Quran, because that's why you see on the rock of the dome the first sentences and so on. And then later on, his replacer, and this is interesting, his replacers is become very, very bad to the Jews in that time. And he's the first one who invents for the Jews the yellow patch in history. The Caliph after Al-Ma'mun.
Yeah.
They still had many, many Jews in the Arabic Empire Caliphate, because Jews were there for many, many years.
Yeah, yeah.
And they had to make them vanish somehow, because the Jews sort of undermined the basis of a new religion, where they say, no, but this is ours, or you took it from us, or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So that's probably explaining the negative vibe towards the Jews in the Quran, to put it mildly.
Exactly that. While Al-Ma'mun is known because he has a whole philosophy that incorporated Hellenic knowledge and Judaic knowledge and other things. And then suddenly he dies, okay, when he returns from, or I don't know if it was exactly when he returns, and it's exactly the time that al-Bukhari writes all his things.
Yeah, it is too much of a coincidence.
Yes.
But the other thing is al-Bukhari is way off in Central Asia. So essentially what you're saying is the Quran was written in Central Asia. Presumably.
Well, I mean, it was a big empire. The Caliphate was a big empire. So I don't know, maybe al-Bukhari is in Central Asia, but maybe he was writing some of his things in Baghdad. I can't say where he was when he wrote.
That's true, yeah.
You know? But I see it's the same timing that he writes at the time where Al-Mamun reigns and the one that comes immediately after Al-Mamun. So that's the time when Al-Bukhari writes.
Yeah. So it would make sense for the person who wrote it to offer an explanation straight after writing it, which is the Hadiths. It's the analysis of the book itself.
Yeah. Okay. I just write here, where had the Quran been written? These are speculations, but it's a question that haunts historians and theologians. Islamic writing states that at some stage, Caliph Uthman had reassembled the true God-given Quran and burned all other Quranic material. This might indicate to a possible backdating by the Abbasids, possibly Caliph al-Mutawakkil, who took action in modifying the Quran to suit their agenda. Okay? Spread a story that the Quran had been written during the Rashidun Caliphate times. This would bestow credibility onto their new modified Quran, as well as demean Al-Ma'mun and his father Harun al-Rashid, that had the Mutazila Islamic philosophy. It's a philosophy that claims that the Quran, as well as all other religious writings, to be made and not God created.
Right, okay.
This would have been within the best interest of Islam, and of course the Caliphate's best interest. So you understand, because Al-Ma'mun and his father Harun al-Rashid, and so they said, no, Quran is man-made. It's written by men. It's not written by a God. And then Al-Ma'mun dies, and Al-Mutawakkil comes along, and then suddenly there is probably a Quran with Al-Bukhari, which says it's a God-made thing. And then then there is the Hajj, all the stories, and then there is the Hijrah, and then they change the time of the counting to Hijrah from 600 whatever instead of 750. And you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Wow, that's an amazing new insight, Leon. It's we must link up again with hopefully my computer in a better nick.
This is interesting that I didn't know back then many of the things that you talk about and so on. And then I say, based on all these, and I give other evidence, it looks like the whole thing that it was made in the Arabian Peninsula is a myth.
Absolutely.
Similar to Judaism origins beginning in Egypt, which are probably a myth, as well as possible myth of Christianity originating in Jerusalem by Jesus. That's a different story. But you'll read it in my book. So, they are all myths, you know what I'm saying? So, and I say Islam and the Quran are far more likely to have been conceptualized in the city of Kufa in the beginning, maybe, by the very same people who had invented Arabic writing and finalized in Samarkand by Al-Bukhari and Al-Mutawakkil. Al-Mutawakkil was the caliph at the time of Al-Bukhari.
Right, okay.
Because the individuals who had conceptualized Islam had probably either been ethnic Jews, Talmudic scholars, or the mixed assimilated Islamist descendants. Perhaps there had even been other Arabs who were taught and inspired by Judaic scriptures, all under Arab leadership. And they had been the ones to create Islam and convert other Jews, Christians, and vanquish Zoroasters to the new religion.
Yeah. Excellent. Leon, I will have to stop it there.
Yes.
But perhaps we can link up again, and I'm sure there's loads more that we could talk about.
Yeah. Okay. Can I put my book so that
Absolutely. The Culture of Wealth by Leon Perez.
Yes.
Or Perez. Leon, thanks a million for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. And you were right, it was explosive stuff. And it's probably going to give me food for thought for the next few weeks as I try and reassess everything. But
well, Murad will have to as well look at the video, look at the things, and try to I wish Murad knew Hebrew, then it would have been even more interesting for him.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, Murad was telling me that he was reading a book recently which suggested that the whole dating was completely wrong, he even thought that maybe Ibn Iyas ibn Qabisa may have to be chucked because of the dating being all wrong, which is probably what you're saying about 750. That's maybe what he was talking about, but he didn't go into details. So it'll be interesting to hear what he has to say on that one. But,
yeah, well, the name Muslim and Islam start appearing from the Abbasid Caliphate times.
Yeah, yeah. It makes more sense once you change the dating. Everything seems to fit. Whereas before, you have this massive, unlikely gap where it takes 150 years to 200 years before a biography appears, which makes no sense. Whereas if you have a later dating, it makes more sense.
Okay.
Okay, listen, thanks, Leon, and
We'll
talk
be in
to you.
touch.
Be in touch, and I'll send you on the video and so on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a million.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. How do you switch?
I'm not too sure. Trying to figure it out myself.
I don't know how. Leave here. Okay.
All right.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers.